Welcome to Psychology Today. I'm your host, Ann Morrow, and this is a show about bicycling in general and specifically about bicycle safety. I hope that Psychology Today helps to inspire you to ride a bike and to be more mindful of safety. We try to celebrate people in our community that incorporate bicycling into career choices or maybe entrepreneurial endeavors, and those that strive to encourage others to ride bikes or those that support cycling and bicycle safety. Our producer, Northwest Bicycle Safety Council, is an organization that promotes safety and harmony between cyclists and works to strengthen our community and your family through cycling-related programs and events. We've ordered our 2019 helmets and expect those anytime, and our volunteers are ready to place those on hundreds of heads this coming summer at different events. And you can learn more about that at our website. I want to give a quick thank you to our capable crew in the control room. They've actually been trained to do their job. The talent here just comes out and wings it. So we want to thank them for making this show possible. Our first guest is Jacqueline Sinke, and she is a board member of Northwest Bicycle Safety Council, and her professional and personal lives reflect her passion for fitness and overall good health. So we'll talk to her about that, and then after a short video, we'll meet Jayne Cravens, who is a bicycle advocate in Forest Grove, Oregon, and she started a Facebook group called Bicyclists and Pedestrians, Western WashCo, Oregon. And we'll learn about her advocacy and where she does that and where. So let's get started with Jacqueline, and thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be back. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. We always like to have you on the show, and we talked about the helmets for Northwest Bicycle Safety Council. You're one of our best helmet fitters.
Thank you.
So you are a board member of Northwest Bicycle Safety Council. I'm wearing my Northwest Bicycle Safety custom tie-dyed shirt here. And so how long have you been affiliated with the organization, and how did you become involved?
I have been involved with the organization probably a little bit over 11 years now, maybe more than that. I have to double check. I actually became involved after a meeting that was arranged by a mutual contact with the then president, Bruce Buffington. And he kind of reeled me in to work with the organization.
He has a way of doing that.
Yes.
We love him for that, but here we all are. So why did you volunteer? How did Bruce's appeal resonate with you then?
I like cycling. I grew up in the Netherlands, so having lived there for about 22 years, I grew up riding my bike. If you're not on the bike, you're on ice skates, so it's either that in the summer or fall, spring, and then the winter time you're on skates. So I grew up in a small town in the south of Holland or the Netherlands, close to the coast. It's a very scenic area, a lot of cycling opportunities. But you ride your bike to work, to school, for recreation. So I had two bikes, one just for regular transportation to school and work, and the other one was for riding in the weekends or evenings when you go longer distance.
So when Bruce talked about this organization and bicycling, but the helmets wouldn't play in the Netherlands so much, would they?
Yes, so after moving to the United States, I taught both my kids how to ride a bike, but my youngest one had a bad crash on the bike, and actually broke two of her front teeth because her helmet was not fitting correctly. Actually, it was not the right helmet at all. So a little bit after that's when I got in contact with Bruce, and so bingo.
Here you are.
Here I am. I'm still here.
So again, you're one of our helmet fitters, and so tell us a little bit about what you did last year, 2018. You worked at some of our events and helped put helmets on heads.
Yeah, it's all the events kind of go into one another. They're all just fitting helmets.
Yes.
So Bike Beaverton was one of the events, always very busy. And you know, you wait there in anticipation for the kids and the adults or the teens to come to to get fitted, and suddenly the floodgates open.
Yes.
And they're all in line, and you have to fit the helmets correctly, one after another, and make sure they are fitted correctly. So yeah, over the years I probably fitted hundreds of helms.
Probably.
Thousand, I don't know how many.
Yeah, so, but a lot.
A lot. So lots of different heads, lots of experience. So you get pretty quick at it after a while.
Yes. So it seems, I kind of follow you on Facebook, it seems like this last year in 2018, you spent more time on your bike. Is
Yes.
and it sounds like you're wanting to do more of that.
I definitely want to do more of that. I want to get some more time to get on the bike. And when you work full time and you have a business to run, sometimes you don't really have that time.
Yeah.
But I go to the coast, have friends at the coast, so I always bring my bike with me. I'll go riding at Astoria, Fort Stevens, Warrenton, Washington, Longview.
Yeah.
Over there, or Long Beach area. And and then just in this area, Washington County is beautiful. Lots of trails here. Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation Trails are great for riding if you don't want to meet up with a car or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right. There's quite a lot of opportunities,
right,
especially here in Washington County. So tell us a little bit about your business that you referenced. So what is your business and what are your credentials? What's your focus?
Yeah. My business is Fitness and Function, and we provide in-home personal training, health coaching, and private physical therapy. My credentials are I focus in training older adults or mature older adults with chronic medical conditions and illness. So the credentials I have need to reflect my ability to be able to work with that population group. So I am certified with the American College of Sports Medicine as an exercise physiologist and cancer exercise trainer. I am also a medical exercise specialist through the American Council on Exercise, and also personal trainer, and also a health coach. And on top of that, I have specialized certification in the balance and mobility training. Working with the older population, falls prevention is a big aspect of that. Balance training, mobility training.
So while you may not have an MD after your name, you have a lot of the same training, I would think, over the years, getting all those certifications and things. You have to know a lot.
Absolutely. You need to know what exercise is safe for a certain medical condition, but also if the person has more than one medical condition, the exercise program that you develop for that individual needs to be safe and beneficial for all those medical conditions. So if someone has like 8 to 12 different medical issues going on, it can be quite a puzzle, but it's also very challenging to be able to provide the right training program that benefits that person and affects their quality of life.
Yes. That would be challenging. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you come back on this show is because I keep seeing these articles stressing, like you're talking about, move your body. As a country, as we just don't anymore. We've gotten so car oriented and video oriented and things, and so certainly our show is about bicycling, but we're going to try to be more inclusive because that's not for everyone. So just the idea of getting more physically active, and there's been a lot of recent studies that corroborate other previous studies that there are a lot of benefits to moving your body, exercising, and compared to having a sedentary lifestyle. So you just kind of addressed a little bit, what anecdotal evidence do you see in your daily experiences with people?
I work a lot with people who have diabetes, type 1 or type 2 diabetes, arthritis, osteoporosis, pain. So with a targeted exercise program that specifically targets those issues, people with, who have diabetes can lower their blood sugar levels. So when you're able to lower your blood sugar levels through physical activity, the bottom line is you probably will need to start taking less medication, or the dosage of the medication will be reduced. Eventually you may be able to eliminate medication altogether. And that's what I commonly experience with a lot of my clients. People who have osteoporosis or arthritis, the ability to reduce pain in everyday living, moving. You know, if movement causes pain, you don't want to move because it causes pain. But if a certain movement or exercise can help you minimize the pain so you're able to move more pain-free, you know, that's a pretty welcome sign.
Yes, yeah. So I shared with you an example that I heard on the radio coming to the show about a woman that took up pole vaulting at age 65, and she'd been active throughout her life. But the idea that you would take that, to me, that's kind of an extreme sport at age 65 to do pole vaulting. And she's 83 now and just participated in what maybe you identified as maybe a senior Olympic event, because she participated every day of the week in some different track event. And she commented that there was a 103-year-old out there running, not quickly, but running. And just the idea that you can go a long ways in older age if you are active or have been active.
Yeah, you definitely benefit from being active and staying active throughout your life. But just because you have been sedentary for a large portion of your life doesn't mean that you have to stay sedentary till the end of life. I have worked several years ago. I started working with a client who was 92 and falling on a regular basis, and his daughter was about to place him in a nursing home. And after starting to work with him, he was able to, not fall anymore, but also to start traveling. He was able to go to Nova Scotia, where he had a summer home. So for about 2 or 3 years, he was able to go back to Nova Scotia to at least to enjoy his summer home. So he got his mobility back. He got his independence back. So you can make improvements even at advanced age.
Yes. I brought part of it, another article that says exactly that you know, our chronological age isn't necessarily indicative of much. It's more like you know, your activity level and your well-being is more important. For instance, in contrast to what you've been talking about, if you smoked your whole life, maybe your lungs are more like an 80-year-old, even though you're 50. So it doesn't have anything to do with your chronological age. And the idea that it's never too late.
It's never too late.
You might not be able to, you know, again, we promote bicycling. Maybe bicycling isn't going to be for you, but some kind of physical activity. Well,
Someone may have enjoyed cycling when they were young and then became sedentary and stopped being a cyclist. By increasing your fitness level through exercise, regular exercise, or non-cycling, you may be able to get back on the bike and enjoy it.
And one of your previous visits, you graciously brought a client who kind of got back on a bike, and we might think a two-wheel bike, but it might be something else. It might be more of a recumbent, it might be more of a trike kind of a thing.
Right.
So there's a lot of variables there, but it might be a fun way to get outside and get some more exercise.
Absolutely.
So there was another study that I had. The Aging Cell compared amateur cyclists to those to people of similar age who rarely or never exercised. And the cyclists had more muscle mass and strength and lower level of body fat and cholesterol than the sedentary adults. So that's kind of pointing to what you said, that maybe you could reduce medications and things for cholesterol or something by exercising. And it said that they also had younger looking immune systems, and it refers to some other medical things, and about the thymus gland. So their bodies were producing just as many T cells as would be expected for a young person.
Yeah. What the remarkable part of this research, or this ongoing research, is that they found out that you can actually change your DNA, which is what's happening here. You can change your DNA because of the environment that you create.
Oh.
So that involves the aging process. So it's called epigenetics. So genetics are important for, it affects how healthy you age,
yes,
or your longevity. But the epigenetics, which refers to the alterations in our genes and their expressions due to our lifestyle and environmental factors, which include fitness, diet, weight, sleep, mood, social interaction, alcohol consumption, and other lifestyle habits. So we can actually change our DNA, improve our DNA, so that we are able to stay healthy and live longer. So they say the healthiest among us not only have the longest life, but also spend the shortest time being sick. And with appropriate perform regular and consistent exercise, we can slow down the effects of aging.
Wow. Isn't that, and a lot of times our fallback is genetics. Well, my mom was this way, so I have this too. And so that isn't.
It's only a small part of it. It's what you do to yourself that has the biggest impact in how well you age.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. It's again, we really like to promote bicycling here, but what kinds of activities do you find that some of your clients enjoy? You talked about maybe you were a bicyclist, so maybe you go back to bicycling, but tennis, tai chi, yoga, what kinds of activities do your clients tend to fall into?
A lot of my clients actually did not really grow up with sports or physical activity so much as just gardening.
Okay.
Which is important. Traveling, be able to play with their kids or walk their dog. So those are important things.
Yeah. So, and walking, I imagine, is a good kind of mellow activity. So not necessarily going into sports, because I think I'm of an age where, women didn't participate in sports when I was growing up. We didn't have that kind of stuff in school and stuff, and my parents weren't physically active. They walked, and they were, but so we just weren't exposed to it like maybe some people are now. So you're saying that, some of this stuff is a lot more mellow. It's not like you take on some senior Olympic type sport and pole vault.
Yeah, I am not an athletic trainer either. I'm a, health fitness specialist. But most of the clients that I see, exercise is important so that they're able to have an active aging lifestyle, so they can do participate in life, be staying engaged, travel, go where they want to go, maybe get on their bike, maybe play golf, tennis, especially as well, sailing, rowing, different options.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You're bringing up a lot of things I hadn't really thought about. What about stretching? This woman that I referred to earlier said that she found that one thing that she suffered from in aging is that now she needs to stretch twice as much. But how do you see that entering in?
Stretching is important to keep your muscles limber. Stretching lengthens the muscles. also helps you to improve your joint range of motion. So if your joints are tight, your muscles are stiff, then movement is not that easy. So as we age, the ligaments tighten up. We are not as flexible anymore, not as elastic anymore as someone who is younger. So if when you stop stretching or using full movement exercises or movement that complete movement range or full movement range, then joint movement or joint range of motion becomes limited, and then your steps are getting shorter, your movements are getting smaller. So stretching is important to maintain full joint movement range as well.
And again, I think sometimes we might think genetics plays a role in that we're tight, our muscles are tight, we aren't as limber as some, our hip flexors aren't as flexible as some, but that can be counteracted somewhat as well.
Right. And also it depends on, are you drinking enough water?
Ah, really?
So if you're dehydrated, the joints are becoming stiffer, the muscles are not as pliable and elastic anymore, so higher risk for injury. And affects, of course, athletic performance as well.
Yeah. And we talked before the show started too that many of us had careers, just the nature of the way our society has gone, that instead of being out working in the farm, we're sitting at a desk. And that too has not been good for our bodies. And then you need to kind of, if you haven't been, undo some of that damage that's been done.
Right.
So what benefits, you've touched on this, what benefits do you see your clients deriving from this kind of thing? It sounds like a much better quality of life.
Better mobility, more strength, more muscle power, increased reactivity, so to be able to react quicker, mobility, balance, agility, speed. Those are some of the benefits. And then of course the health benefits, being able to control or lower your blood pressure, lower blood sugar, lower your resting heart rate. Those are, important markers as well.
So all this takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes months, if not years. But do your clients notice these changes, no doubt? Do they? What kinds of comments do they make to you?
Usually when someone starts with exercise, even that there's no changes physically yet, the first thing they say after the session is over with, they say, okay, I feel better. So you change some of the endorphins. So people feel better.
Nice.
So with increasing depression, you can change someone's mood to be able to have a better outlook of life.
Nice.
Which is important too.
That is nice. So how do you get started? If someone's a couch potato, how would you suggest they kind of start moving into a little more activity?
First of all, try to avoid inactivity. Get off the couch. If you have a medical condition, then it may be wise to consult your healthcare provider and find out if exercise is safe for you.
Sure.
What is your wellness goal? What is it that you like to achieve? Do you want to feel better, look better? You want to be able to walk around the block or ride a bike? Again, start training for a 5K or a fundraiser somewhere. What is your wellness goal? So the exercise program needs to meet that wellness goal as well. So, is it disease prevention? Okay, is it better management of a chronic medical condition? Has your doctor told you you need to exercise because you're at risk for such and such? There may be different wellness goals.
So, but having some sort of a goal is probably a good thing. Not just a vague, oh, I'm going to be a little more active. Kind of have some kind of a goal out there.
Right.
And you've talked a little bit about your business. So just generally, how does a professional help a person accomplish some of those goals?
Making sure first that the goal is realistic. Okay, and now working towards that goal. So developing an exercise program that meets that individual's wellness goal, and you know, that's how you basically get started. Looking for a fitness professional, could be an athletic trainer, could be a health coach. There's, you know, we have different specializations. I work with people who have chronic medical issues. A personal trainer may work more with individuals who have a more overall wellness goal, just overall health. The key is, if you have a specific wellness goal, then the exercise program needs to be specifically developed for that wellness goal. If you have a wellness or a fitness goal, or you want to, you know, participate in a cycling race or tour somewhere, you're probably better off getting a fitness program developed by someone who specializes in that type of training, as well.
Okay. Now you work hard at your own fitness, and I know that you're very diet conscious about what you eat, and you know, you walk your talk is what I've noticed, and I really appreciate that. So based on your own experiences, what encouragement would you give us?
Have fun. You know, without having fun in what you do, there is no point.
Good advice.
So, choose an exercise or activity that you really enjoy, or an activity where you can meet people who you enjoy being with. And something that is achievable. You know, that is not outside of your reach, because if it's outside your reach, you feel probably not very accomplished and depressed after that. So it needs to be an achievable goal. You need to have fun, and be able to progress to a higher level of fitness or function, to the next wellness goal.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good examples of people out there doing that are older and people that have had setbacks.
Absolutely.
That overcome, they maybe have some surgery or something, and by golly, they're back out there trying and getting over that.
Yeah, injuries, absolutely.
So, So I want to thank you, Jacqueline, for joining us again. It's always interesting, and I like the way you kind of ended us, because it's pretty serious stuff we were talking about, but ultimately to have fun, because it's quality of life is the bottom line.
It is, and we are the CEO of our body. If we don't take care of ourselves, where else are we going to live? There's no other body to go into. So you take care of yourself, you hopefully will live a long and healthy life.
Thank you. I hadn't heard that analogy before. That's a good one. That's a good one. Well, again, we thank Jacqueline for joining us, and she's always helpful with Northwest Bicycle Safety Council. And we're going to go to a quick video now about bicycle safety, and we'll come back with more psychology today, and our second guest, Jayne Cravens, who's joining us to talk about her advocacy for bicycling and pedestrians and the safety. So let's watch that video.
Maybe you ride to school. Maybe you ride for fun. Either way, when you're on a bike, you want to get where you're going safely. To do that, you need to remember a few key things. Be visible, follow the rules of the road, and be predictable. Okay, that's it, we're done. Well, not done exactly. We might have a few more things to say. When we say be visible, what we mean is be easy to see. Drivers should be watching for you, and they are, but do your part. Make sure your bike is ready for riding, and that includes having working lights and reflectors. In the daytime, wear bright colors. At night, wear something reflective, either clothing or gear. And dress for safety. If you're wearing loose pants, for example, strap down the pant leg on the chain side of the bike, like this, so it won't get caught while you're riding. And wear a bike helmet when you ride. It may or may not be the law where you live, but it's always a good idea. Of course, part of the idea of wearing a helmet is not to put it to the test, not to have a wreck in the first place. And that's all about where you choose to ride and how you do it. Bikes are considered vehicles. So when you're riding a bike on the road, follow the same rules as car drivers do. Just like a driver, you need to look for and obey road signs and traffic signals. We're talking stop signs, yield signs, red lights, and so on. Keep to the right, but far enough from parked cars so you don't get clipped by a door that opens suddenly. Usually that's at least 3 feet. But what happens when you don't have 3 feet? When the lane narrows, for example. That's when you need to take the lane. Taking the lane means that you move into the center of the lane, just like a car. You should do this when the lane narrows or when you're coming up to an intersection or some other kind of turn. In these situations, the center of the lane is usually the best place to be. When it's time to change lanes, you should look for traffic, signal, and then move one lane at a time. Traffic will always be changing, so it's important to look and signal each time you want to change lanes. Anytime you're uncomfortable with a traffic situation, you have choices. You can get off the bike and walk on the sidewalk. You can choose a different route, one that has bike lanes, or slower traffic. Or you can use a combination of bike and transit. But no matter where you're riding, a road or a trail, always watch out for people walking. Move out of their way, and let them know when you're about to pass them on the left.
On your left.
If there's one thing drivers count on, it's predictability. So one of the best ways to be safe is to be predictable. For example, use hand signals before you turn or stop. Ride in the same direction the cars are going, with the flow of traffic, not against it. And don't assume that drivers will see you just because you see them. You already know this part, but we're gonna say it anyway. Put your phone away while you're riding. You don't want to be talking or texting because you need to be alert and paying attention to what you're doing. Same goes for earbuds or headphones. You need to hear what's going on around you, so leave them in your bag for later. Keep both hands on the handlebars unless you're signaling, and keep your eyes open for hazards, things like wet roads, gravel, debris, anything that can mess with your ride. As we said up front, it really comes down to 3 things. Be visible, be predictable, and follow the same rules as a car. Make sure that drivers can see you, that you let them know what you're about to do, and that you're following the rules of the road. That's it. Have a good ride.
Well, that video is a great overview of some good safety tips, and always good to have some refreshers. Before we meet Jayne Cravens, I do want to just mention and encourage our viewers to get out and ride a bike, because that's kind of what we're all about. And there are bike clubs out there and meetup groups and lots of different organizations that can help you get out there and ride. They've got the routes all figured out. You just kind of have to show up. And I'm very involved in Portland Wheelman Touring Club. And on April 4th, 2019, not very long ago, Portland Wheelman Touring Club voted to change their name to Portland Bicycling Club. So if the word wheelman in Portland Wheelman Touring Club has kind of been a bugaboo for you, that's off the table now. We're going to be gradually transitioning and rebranding to Portland Bicycling Club. And so we hope that that strikes you as more inclusive. We are an inclusive club, and now our name reflects that attitude. So more importantly, what rides do you want to do this year? Is this the year you do your first century, your first 100-mile ride? Are you going to do Seattle to Portland, also known as STP, ride from Seattle to Portland in 1 or 2 days? Maybe you're going to do Reach the Beach, or maybe even a Cycle Oregon, a full week of cycling. We believe in you. We believe that you can reach those goals, and bike clubs like Portland Wheelman are there to help you with rides and help you get trained and a lot of time on your bikes. Bike shops are available. Usually the people that work in bike shops know a lot about the machine itself and different organizations and ways to train. So use all the resources in our community. On April 28th, Salem Bicycle Club is putting on their annual Monster Cookie, which is a great flat metric century. A metric century is 62 miles, and it goes from the Capitol building in Salem to Shampooey Park and back. So it's a great ride, really popular, especially on a nice day. A good opportunity to learn how to ride in a group of riders, a lot of riders around you, and learn the skills that you need to do that sort of thing. It's really a fun ride. So all I would like to say in concluding then is wherever, however, and with whomever, please wear a properly fitted helmet. So welcome, Jayne. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So we'd like to learn a little bit about our guests before we start. So we're going to get to know you a little better. How did you come to be in the Washington County area?
I had been living abroad in Germany for 8 years, and my husband and I, who is German, moved back to the U.S., and we chose Oregon for various reasons. I'm not from the area. And Washington County, we were actually lost on our motorcycles and just fell in love with the whole county and Forest Grove in particular. And so we moved to the county in 2013 and bought a house, and this is where we live now.
Well, belatedly, welcome to the Northwest.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
And I just heard some bad news about Forest Grove that Maggie's Buns is closing.
And I know, yes, Maggie's Buns is a hugely popular spot for bicyclists. In fact, I wouldn't go on Saturdays because I knew there would be so many bicyclists there. Indeed, it has closed. New ownership tried to make a go of it, but it didn't work out. So there are some other options. I can't name them now, but yes, there are other options for breakfast.
We can still go to Forest Grove.
Yes, you can. Please do.
Okay. And tell us a little bit, you kind of touched on a little bit about your family, yourself, career, passions.
I am an international consultant, and I work with nonprofit organizations both in the U.S. and abroad. I worked for several years for the United Nations and sometimes do contracts for them still. In Germany, I worked in Bonn, which is where a lot of UN agencies moved after the wall came down.
Oh.
And it's the former capital of the country, and so they had all this marvelous infrastructure. But unfortunately, they did not have a nice international community to take over when everybody headed to Berlin. So they invited the UN to move there, and several agencies did move there, and that's where I got started riding a bicycle. I didn't own a bicycle in my 20s and 30s until I moved to Germany. So,
well, we'll want to talk to you a little bit more about that, about riding in Germany, because I think that's such a contrast to what we're accustomed to here in the U.S. And Jacqueline too mentioned riding in the Netherlands, so that's a little different than what we're accustomed to. And not that you necessarily want to compare ourselves to a different country and, well, we've got to be like them, but they do have some good ideas and I think more participation in cycling, and maybe they feel a bit safer in Germany and the Netherlands. So I'd like to kind of touch on that a little bit more if we have time to talk about your experiences in riding in Germany and the fact that sometimes they don't wear helmets, which Northwest Bicycle Safety Council, we find that thought just appalling. But but maybe we'll touch on that in a moment. So you talked about how you became a cyclist. What kind of cycling are you participating in now?
Well, I am not a really a recreational cyclist much at all. Bicycling is how I get around. It's how I go to run errands during the day. It's how I get to meetings in town. It's how I get around town. I even go to the grocery. I use my bicycle now a lot the way I did in Europe.
Yeah.
It is my transportation. I tend not to be in spandex. I do always wear a helmet, but I tend to be in a skirt and street shoes, and I'm on a 3-speed girly bike. It used to have a big basket in the front. Now I have a tray that I can put a very large shopping cart in, and I look different than the other bicyclists on the street because I'm obviously not riding, to ride 100 miles or something, but I'm also obviously choosing to ride. I haven't lost my license and I'm having to ride a bicycle, and that's certainly a particular profile of a bicyclist. So I feel kind of out of place, actually. I feel like people don't quite know what to do with me. I don't really have a bicyclist body, but I ride the bicycle. It's how I get around. It is my transportation.
I like that. Was there a transition from coming to Germany and then getting back on the bike in that way to use it as your transportation? Did you fall into our auto-focused mode and then double back to the bicyclist, or did you just kind of keep with the bike?
Believe it or not, when I was in Germany, I made a commitment that when I moved to the U.S., we were going to be a one-car family, and that I was going to do my best to get around the community on a bicycle or walking. It's just a commitment I wanted to try to make, and it's been very difficult. Oregon is not the bike-friendly area I thought it was going to be. Portland is not the bike-friendly area that everyone promised. It's very hard when you make this choice. I'm a person who I'm not sure I could lift my bicycle and put it on the front of a bus. It's a very heavy 3-speed girly bike.
Yeah.
Again, in Germany, it's just very different. You roll your bike on the train and ride it. You don't have to hang it or whatnot. So it's been an adjustment, but I've been very committed to this idea. I should qualify that we're a one-car family, but we also have 2 motorcycles. I also ride a motorcycle, so I do cheat. I do have a motorized vehicle.
Well, that's really interesting. I'd really kind of like to talk about that more, but we brought you here because you have a Facebook page. That's how I learned about you. And you promote discussion about the joys and perils of being a bicyclist and or pedestrian in Washington County, Oregon, which you kind of just now mentioned because you experience it yourself. So that includes Cornelius, Banks, Forest Grove, Dilley, Gales Creek, Gaston, and the surrounding area. So what prompted you? What was your motivation for all this?
Western Washington County is beautiful, and it's one of the reasons we chose it is Forest Grove is that nice bridge between rural and urban Oregon, and we actually love both. I love both. And I noticed that it's very popular with bicyclists. They come from Portland, they come from all over to ride the roads. They go right by our house. Our house is on a big major bike route. And I love seeing the bicyclists go by, and I wave. But one of the things I noticed was hearing a lot of very anti-bicycle backlash. It actually was in Canby where I really started to hear it, and I went to the Oregon bicycle tourism meetings that they had back in 2011 or 2012. I went to all of those meetings and actually heard people being very hostile about bicycles. They shouldn't be on the road. They should get over for all cars. They're dangerous. And I kept thinking, this is what people are thinking when I'm riding my bicycle. and I'm not even riding it on country roads. I'm just getting around. I follow all the rules. I stop at every stop sign. I really painstakingly follow all the rules, and I thought, gosh, there's a real disconnect here between bicyclists and the people who don't ride bicycles. So I decided to start this Facebook group because I was hoping to talk to other bicyclists, both people in the area who choose to ride bicycles for convenience, to get around, or for recreation, but also to pull some people in from Portland and other areas who ride in Western Washington County, and to really talk about what it's like to ride, tips we have for each other, ways to avoid certain roads, or ways to better times to ride on those roads. Just recently, for instance, my husband and I mapped out a way to get to Cornelius and go get Mexican food for lunch without having to ride on TV Highway. TV Highway has bicycle route or pathways, and that's great, but I actually don't feel comfortable on them. I'm pretty scared on them. So we mapped out this route on all these back roads, and we still had to do a dash across State Highway 47 safely, but we did. And I thought, it would be great if people shared those kind of routes.
Yeah.
Here's a 6-mile route that will get you to a great little Mexican restaurant and home. Or here's a route that could get you to a winery. So I thought that this community might be a way for people to share those kind of things. And I want to bring together both the people who ride, fast, recreationally, long distance, but I'd also like to bring in people who want to ride their bicycle to school, want to ride their bicycle to work, want to use their bicycle to get to the 57 and then go on to Portland. So I wanted to create a safe space because, quite frankly, there's a much larger Forest Grove community, and any mention of bicycles turns into a really hostile place. I've posted about clinics, maybe I've even posted about your events, I'm not sure, but the backlash is always very quick about, I really don't like these bicycles on the street, and why are they even here? So this was my way to kind of create a safe space for bicycle riders to just talk.
Well, it sounds like a huge endeavor. I didn't realize, just that there's, right, it's to incorporate all the different kinds of bicyclists and all the ideas, and plus the negativity.
Yeah, there's no one way to ride a bicycle. I mean, I guess there is in a way, but one of the things I loved in Germany was that people of all ages rode bicycles, people of all body types rode bicycles. Certainly you had the people, fully in the gear going really fast. That was great, and you had the races. But then you also just had grandmothers and grandkids out for the day for a picnic. You had people going to the grocery on their bicycle. I have huge saddlebags, and I would stuff all my groceries into them, and I even rode down the street with a shower curtain rod. I looked like I was jousting, down the street.
That must have been a sight.
Yeah, it was a sight. But in Germany, it wasn't that much of a sight. Here, I can't imagine what would happen. And the reason I made it bicycles and pedestrians is because I really see a connection in those groups. We are groups that drivers seem so surprised that we're on the road. When I come up to intersections, I look for pedestrians. So when people say, "Well, I didn't see any pedestrians until the last minute," and my thought is, well, we didn't materialize out of the air. There are no, transporters. We were there. If you didn't see us, maybe it's that you weren't looking.
Yeah.
One of the things I had forgotten is I bought these online. And they are reflective little signs. They're metal. I have 2 stop signs, and I have the pedestrian sign. I have one in my purse. I have one in my rain jacket. And when I go to an intersection in Forest Grove, no one will stop, even if it's a marked road. So I pull out my sign, and it's amazing. People stop just for this sign. And I talked about it on the community one day and told people where they could order the sign, and the first response was, "Is that even legal?" So I actually checked, but it's just a way to be seen.
Yeah.
And you know, I want to be seen, but at the same time, when I go to the grocery, I don't put on reflective gear to walk from my car to the front door. Yet I am a pedestrian,
Yeah.
and cars, you know, you do want to be seen. So I want biking and walking to be a little more casual, that you don't think you have to completely gear up just to walk a couple of blocks or just to ride your bicycle.
Yeah.
And again, I always wear my helmet, but the idea that I also have to put on a vest and I also have to, you know, put on all this stuff, I just want to go out for a nice dinner and come home.
I hear what you're saying, like you're gearing up for battle.
You're gearing up for, and that's how a lot of Europeans look at it when they see American bicyclists. They're like, well, if it's that dangerous, I don't even think I would ride. And I get that. When I ride at night, I do have quite a bit of things that I wear, and I also have lots of flashing things on my bicycle, such that my husband saw me once blocks away, and he said it was like a light carnival coming towards me. It was just almost too much.
But that's good.
But yeah, that's what I do. But yeah, I just would like to see bicycling to be more accepted as just a normal thing.
So what do you think could be done? It sounds like you go to meetings, you're trying to educate people. How can this be accomplished?
I think it takes a lot of different groups. I love the different groups that are encouraging kids to ride bicycles to schools. I love the ideas of these bike rodeos, which were big and can be. There was a woman who loved to organize these, and it's where they get a group of kids who are all on a route to school. The first kid starts to ride their bike and picks up the next kid on their bike, who picks up the next kid, and by the time they get to school, they're a train. They're a big, long bike train. And but they do that only at special events. It's not something they do every day.
Okay.
I think those are great. I think bike rodeos are really wonderful. I think planned rides are great, and I've thought about doing that myself, where I say, okay, everybody meet at this corner at this time, and we're just going to do a 5-mile loop around Forest Grove. And we're not going to go fast, and it's kid friendly, and we'll have an adult in the front and an adult in the back, and we're going to follow the rules, but let's just make our presence known. And I think that would help. I ended up joining the Public Safety Advisory Council, PSAC, in Forest Grove, and I did so because they didn't have a bicycle committee. Canby did, and I was on that for a couple of years, and it was great. The city actually brought us really anything that was going to be planned on the street, any sidewalk, and we got to review it and talk about, is this going to work? They don't have that in Forest Grove, so I joined PSAC and really would love to talk about bicycles, but it's been frustrating. The group doesn't really seem interested in that. And just for anyone watching, there will be a time for new members to apply to join in September, and we are down several members, and it would be really nice to get some people who like bicycling and like walking and would like to see more of a safety focus to be on the commission. So I hope people will apply and join in September.
There's got to be some like-minded people out there,
I hope
not
so.
not just all of us passing through in our Lycra. So we're just down to a couple of minutes time, and I wanted to talk about, I always like to ask people, you sound very down to earth and pragmatic about your approach and what you want to accomplish, but I'd like to ask people, you know, if you could wave a magic wand, or if time and money was no object, what would you do in your area? What would you do?
I would love if there was a protected bike path among all the different wineries. I would love it if you could ride from Forest Grove to Plum Hill, you know, to all the David Hill, all these different wineries on your bicycle, and never have to be on a really busy road. I think that would be so wonderful. I would love if every intersection was, especially on TV Highway, was marked with a pedestrian crossing, just with the white line, since so many people think if there's no white lines, it's not a crossing. So that would be really wonderful. And I would love if all of the schools, if each school had a bicycle advocate who did nothing but make sure there was parking for bicycles and make sure everybody, had bicycles and helmets and knew the routes safe, to and from school. Those would be really great, amazing things to wave my wand and create.
Those are great, amazing things. I love those ideas. That's really awesome.
Well,
and they are pretty fanciful, but yet realistic.
Well, I think they are realistic. One of the things that you pointed out was I was playing with Google Maps and I realized there was just a 1,500 feet or 1,500 yards of space that was all that was needed to join two roads so that you could ride from Forest Grove to Gaston and never have to be on 47. And it's just 1,500 feet.
So again, this is Jayne Cravens, and thank you for joining us. And she's just pointing out some great safety ideas, and we all want to be safe on the roads. And thank you for joining us. I hope you've gotten some good information from our first guest, Jacqueline Sinke and Jayne Cravens, and been inspired to ride and maybe advocate for your own good health, because you, as Jacqueline said, you're the CEO of your own body. And Jayne, the idea of working in your community for safety for bicyclists and pedestrians so we can all share the road. So thanks to both of our guests, and I hope that you'll come ride with me. I'm, again, pretty involved with Portland Wheelman Touring Club. That is the new Portland Bicycling Club. And you can still go to pwtc.com and look at our ride schedule. Some of our rides might be going out to Forest Grove. And come and join me for a ride. I've got some pretty easy, slow group rides around Portland area, and I welcome you to come out and give it a try. Thank you.